Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa and welcome to our scouting series. This is the second edition of it. The first one went down really well when we tapped into the brain and the data of what goes into Monchi trying to target. So we did the right back. This is the more exciting one. I think as transfer of players goes, like, right back, is it that exciting? Kind of is for our system, but you can't beat strikers, you can't beat wingers. So this is a really exciting one. And we're joined by Earl, who's created this database. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, really good, really good. So, right winger then. To you, why is this position so important? And I guess, we've got to put in there that Bailey looks like he's leaving. And so that's why there's such a need for this right winger to be very good. So why is this winger so important for you, Earl?
Yeah, it's a big position, exciting, like you say, and it's one that we've not really had many good wingers of recently. We've had Bailey's had a good season, Diaby's had a good season maybe. Of recent years we've not really had anyone that's locked down that right wing position or the left wing, I guess, as well. We've had players in and out of that position, so I just think it's an area, if you look at goals and assists within the Villa team, it's usually, Watkins at the top. And then there's a big drop off between the rest. So yeah, it'd be good to get some more goals into the team, some more assists into the team, and improve on that goal difference from last season.
And it's such an important position for Villa because I kind of feel like if you're a winger, this is like a perfect position for you because you are asked to defend in this Villa system. But the beauty of what you're allowed to do is you're allowed to stay high and wide on the right. You're allowed to just be a winger. And that's what the role that Bailey had. And, unfortunately, the season that's just gone was, it was terrible, really, considering what we saw from the season before. We saw how dynamic he was, getting all these shots off, dribbling, driving, assists, being creative, but also having that sense of actually, like, behind me, I know that there's going to be a bit of cover there, so I've got that license to be able to play. So I think the knock-on effect within the Villa system is it's meant that Rodgers had to go out there, etc. So by having this winger, it should allow, for me, Rodgers to go down the middle. And I just want to touch on a player first then before we get into the data. Donyell Marlon, Earl, is he the answer to our wide right player? Or are we looking at Marlon solely down the middle?
I think he could, could slot in there at times, but for me, he is more of a down, maybe not straight down the middle, but you want him kind of closer to goal. Getting on the end of things at the back post, final third type of player. It might be something that Emery's able to coach into him, but he's not maybe the wide midfielder kind of role that we see at times where we have to defend against a lot of teams. It's something that in the past maybe Bailey wasn't very good at himself, is that tracking back aspect of it. So yeah, I think he could play there at times, but for me, I'd want him closer to the goal, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen it, haven't we? That central he's good and finishing is good. And was it the Nottingham Forest one, like you say, when he was at the back post and he put that one away? It was like a Peter Whiff sort of shinning finish to the away from the keeper. But that's what he does, and that's what he's really good at. So it's important that he gets into those areas. So what we're going to do first, then, I'm going to let Earl just briefly explain what this graph shows and all the different areas that we should really be sort of looking at, really. So we've got goal scorer, volume shooter, creator, attacking passer, progressive passer, attacking dribbler, progressive dribbler, ball winner, last ditch defender, and ball retainer. If you run through those, Earl, and then just talk to us about what the scoring means. So, like, why someone say a 6.7 and why someone an 8 and why someone a 9.1, what does that mean?
Yeah, so what I've done is I've pulled all the players, so it's across the top 5 leagues in Europe: England, France, Spain, Italy, Germany. Pulled all the wingers, so it's right and left wingers into this one spreadsheet here. Got rid of players who are over 29, I think, and players who haven't played who played more than 1,000 minutes are in this spreadsheet here. So I've taken all the stats, the data, and I've broken down these players into these different categories or profiles of player, just to give you a kind of idea of what type of player they are. And then for each category, like you say, I've given them a score of between 0 and 10. So 0 would be like the lower end of the spectrum, the worst players in that particular profile, and then 9.9, 10 would be your higher ranking players in each of those categories. So yeah, there's a few here. I've cut it down to just the profiles I think are relevant for the wingers. So goal scorer, fairly obvious. This is goals per 90 minutes, and that's non-penalty goals, so it's not including penalties. Volume shooter, that's how many shots that the player takes, and that's based on the number of touches that they have as well. So, you might expect someone who has fewer touches to take fewer shots, etc. So I'm just building that into there as well. Creator, so this is looking at assists, expected assists, shot creating actions, pulled all those together, and then, like I say, created a score out of 10. Attacking passer, so this is key passes, so passes that lead to a shot, as well as passes and crosses into the penalty area, so kind of your final third passing, essentially. We then got progressive passer, so this includes a bit more build-up play as well, so passing the ball forward and moving the team forward with passing. Attacking dribbler, progressive dribbler, similar to the passing but dribbling. So instead of passing the ball into the box, this is dribbling the ball into the box, dribbling the ball forward. Added in a couple of defensive stats in there as well for people to see. So ball winner, this is things like tackles won, interceptions, ball recoveries, picking up loose balls, and then last ditch defender is things like blocks, clearances, and then finally ball retainer. This is how well the player keeps a hold of the ball. So passing accuracy, high passing accuracy gives you a high score, not giving the ball away. How often you're dispossessed in relation to how many touches that you have as well. So yeah, broken it down into those categories that I think are useful for a winger.
Yeah, I think you've absolutely smashed it as always. So when we got talking about this episode, just like last time, we were discussing like 3 main attributes that we would like to see from a winger. So Villa fans, have a look at what the categories that we've created and what 3 are very important to you. We discussed and agreed. Earl said his 3, and the exact same 3 that I was thinking of. So that made it really easy. And the 3 that we've highlighted as our most important will be attacking dribbler, attacking passer, volume shooter. Now, here's something that Earl did earlier, and he's already got the graph now that shows the players that are in this list that are the best in those 3 categories with the highest numbers. So what we can see here is number 1 is quite good. Yamal, he's not bad, is he? And we're going in age order. So we've got 8, he's 18, and then we're getting older and older. So we're going to have a little quick look at this list then, Earl, of who are the best players within that category that we've picked of the 3. Garnacho is a player that's been linked with Villa, and a player that is sort of getting, I would say, 60-40, I think. 60-40. I think that's probably the ratio that I'm finding on transfer. 60% really think that Unai can unlock him, and there's so much more there. I think age is very good on his side, a player that can really just nurture and grow. but his numbers there, like volume shooter, looks really good to me. Attacking dribbler, progressive dribbler's good. But also the one that stands out for me that I really like is actually ball winner. I think that's good. The fact that whenever I watch him, he does look like a presser, and he does go on those like marauding runs to sort of like hunt the ball down. So just kicking it off with Garnacho because his name was there. What are your thoughts on him for Villa? And does this sort of differentiate from left and right side? Because predominantly he does play on the left for Man United. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, I quite like Garnacho, to be fair. I think he's a talented player, and he's one of them that's kind of, it seems like he's been around already, even though he's still 20. I've done the age that they will be at the start of next season. So I think he's still 20 right now. He'll be 21 by the time the season starts. But yeah, like you say, he's clearly a talented player. Obviously, he's got his issues, maybe he's settling in and whatnot, that, well documented in the media and all that kind of thing. I personally don't pay that much attention to that. I just, for a winger, I just want them to score goals and get assists. I can close myself off to all that other kind of nonsense. But yeah, it definitely, if you think about the level of talent that he has, and the problems that he has, if we can get him for a discounted price maybe, and then solve some of those issues and settle him in, it could be a really, really good signing. Similarly, if he comes in and maybe doesn't settle in as we'd like him to, he's only 2021. A couple of years at Villa, progress a bit further, his value's only going to go up, really. And we've seen it with the likes of John Duran, who get labelled as troublemaker. It doesn't matter. They come in, score some goals, get some assists, go up in value, and we can move them on anyway. So for me, it's a win-win. I did find it interesting as well that you highlighted the ball winner. That's quite a big one. Villa, we're not really that much of a pressing side, but it's something that I would like to see us do a bit more of. And especially, being in the Man United system, they don't always, press together in these sorts of things. So, could this be even better in the more organised side?
I think that's something that I've spotted with Garnacho, the sense of like he goes after teams, and I think sometimes he sort of goes after them on like his own accord. Like, he goes after someone and then there's no one pressing him from behind him. I think this is something big for Villa next season as well, is that I do want to see us like press a bit more and like really hunt someone down a little bit. And I think that can probably play in with some of the games where we do look a little bit passive. And I think a profile of someone like Garnacho could be really important. I mean, on this list now, there's some very good players, and there's a lot of players that are in the Premier League that I really rate. I think Atari is really good for Bournemouth. We've got a Dingra for Brighton, very good. We've got Madueke, who I really like. Madueke, I think at the weekend for England, I think he played really well. But Adeyemi is another one. I look at his stats there, and they're pretty solid across the board. 8.5 goal scorer, 7.8 volume shooter, creator 9.2, attacking passer 7.7. You get into the dribbling stats that they're in the nines, and so he's a player that I think he's quality as well. And you've obviously got other players like Scalia, who obviously aren't in our budget and price range. But which ones do you like the look of?
I think John Rowe is quite an interesting one from Marseille. He's had experience in England in the Championship with Norwich as well. Had a good season over there, and doing it in France as well. Another obvious one is Semenyo, who I think is I think he'd be a good fit for the Villa side. obviously with the attributes that we've talked about before, but his versatility as well. So he's a player that can play on the left wing or the right wing, and he's as good on either side. And then he's got that defensive bit about him as well. So I think he's another one that would look quite good in the Villa team. Having said that, Bournemouth, everyone will be after Bournemouth players, won't they? So it might not be the easiest or the cheapest buy, because they won't be struggling for money after the sales they've been making. So
no, yeah, I mean, Howson, he's gone, so they're getting decent money there. So can we filter this now to Premier League? Can we just have a look at a list with just Premier League wingers? Because there's one that I've sort of highlighted and had a look at his stats, and I look at him across the board. And I mentioned him before we went off air. Harvey Barnes, he's a player that's just looks super consistent, and he's a player that's haunted Villa across the years. We've got goal scorer 8.7, 8.1 volume shooter, create 7.2, attacking passer 7.9, progressive passer 9.5, attacking dribbler 8.7, progressive dribbler 9.6. I mean, that's pretty good across every single one there. And there's rumours of Jacob Ramsey to Newcastle as well, and this has been touted as a bit of maybe a PSR crossover. But age 27, but still he's good. I rate him. What do you think of Harvey Barnes as a player?
Yeah, I think he's one of them players similar to Watkins, where he's just pretty consistently good. Maybe doesn't always get the plaudits for being how consistently good how good he is. He's maybe had the bit of injury troubles of recent years, but if you look at his time at Leicester as well, the consistency of the number of goals and assists that he was getting season on season at Leicester, and he's back to those levels again now. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting pick. Age 27, so not too old as well. Maybe just hitting the peak, maybe slightly over it. But yeah, he's just a good consistent player in my opinion.
Yeah, and can we have a look at top 5 leagues now? Then, can we discredit England, because we've just had a look at England? Can we do that or not?
Yeah.
Okay, he can do everything, can't he? Look at him. Okay, so there's a player for me that would be like a dream signing, and I don't even think he's on your list here. Someone that I just really rate and I enjoyed watching him at Villa Park was Yildiz. I just loved his touch and just it's how he glides and how much he was a massive threat, I thought, for Juventus against Villa. He's a player that I really enjoyed. And I imagine on this list now there's going to be some super players. So I mean, his numbers are pretty consistent. Volume shooter's not shooting enough, is he? But you're looking at creator, pretty good, attacking passer, progressive passer. My other question to you, Earl, is how sort of like our right-hand side, it's open, that we're looking to recruit. Do you think we've got good pull to sign a good winger? Or do you think we're going to be looking at sort of like an unknown, sort of someone that's not quite as out there as what we'd expect coming in?
Yeah, I definitely think we've got a good pull. I mean, you see all the talk in the media about we've missed out on the Champions League and it's going to affect us, this kind of thing. I don't believe that at all. I think the big pull is the Premier League, and I think our performances in the Premier League over the past few seasons, our performances in Europe, especially in the Champions League, getting to the quarterfinals, and then having the manager like Unai Emery. I think Villa, we've put our name out there now. I think we're a respected side in Europe, even if we are in the Europa League this season. It's still a good pull. So I think we've absolutely got the pull, no doubt about that in my mind. But yeah, I mean, I've got nothing against going going for a lesser known or unknown name as well. It's just, if you're good enough, you're good enough. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be a big name for me.
No, so we're writing out Douay, Barcola, Scalia then, yeah?
Yeah, your
We're
Mal
not
as
going,
well would be nice.
yeah, we're not going after them. So I asked you last time, and you came out with some clutch names. Like, who's on Earl's radar, like across Europe? Like, what sort of winger do you really like?
Well, the one for me is pace. We need a bit of pace in the side, I think. And it depends on the budget as well that we've got available. I like the names that we've looked at already. Like we see John Rowe, if we're going for maybe a bit of a lesser known name. You've got players like Chukwueze as well, who fans will probably be aware of from Emery's time in Villarreal, who's still a decent player. Probably hasn't kicked on as much in Milan as would have liked, but the numbers are still decent in terms of the dribbling and attacking, passing, and creativity, these sorts of things. So I think in terms of the position of right wing, that there are actually quite a few options. And
I'll tell you another one, and I'm gonna butcher his name. Akliucci, that's the guy at Monaco, isn't it? I thought he had a real good game against us. Number 85 there. He really impressed me. And he impressed me when I watched him in the Champions League this season, 23. And I think he would be someone that I think could really work. Another thing that I think is interesting to look at these wingers is like, what type of winger are you going to get? Because I look at sort of like Rafael Leao there. You've just gone down,
Oh,
but
sorry.
basically,
Yeah.
like Rafael Leao, if you look at his numbers, like you've got creator 93, 97 attacking passer, 96 attacking dribbler, 93 progressive dribbler, and then we look at like the defensive side of it. 3 for ball winner, last touch defender 2.3, ball retainer 6.7. So you can see there that he looks to me like he don't really do much defending, and I think wingers are funny, aren't they? Like some of them just stay high and just don't defend, and then others have to do a little bit more. And I think that's why I kind of like some of the ones that you've mentioned, because there's that little bit of a balance between a bit of everything. And we know that Emery, you can't just be good at one thing. You've got to be good at quite a lot of things and follow a plan and be tactical and stuff. So you look at some players and you think they're probably not even like the right fit, even though, they're really good. They're just not going to have everything for Villa.
You've got one here as well, Cherky. I'm sure he'll be in a lot of Villa fans' minds.
He's just gone to Man City, hasn't he? You see the one that's just signed for Man City?
Has he just signed? Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one. Yeah, but yeah, massive, creative numbers there. Another one that I like is Asane Diao.
Yeah.
From Como. So he's got pace, goal scorer there, 9.4. High dribbling as well. I think he was on the list before that we filtered. So he's another one I'd look out for. And then I do like Dan Ndoye from Bologna. He had good Euros and then a decent season as well with Bologna. Maybe not so much. Attacking numbers aren't so high, but you can see, the progressive dribbling kind of thing. He might be good in that role in terms of the build up. The right wing. We think of it for Villas like a midfielder as well, getting involved with the play. So if you're looking for a player who's maybe not so much a final third player, but can get involved in the build up, drive us forward with the ball, and then chip in with some goals and assists as well. I think he's another good one.
Yeah, and finally, what a good winger that I think everybody's going to be mentioning, Nico Williams, because we were heavily linked with him that one window, weren't we? And he was everyone's dream signing, and then he goes on and wins the Euros. But I look at his numbers there; they're probably not as high as what I would imagine them to be. Goal scorer, lowish, volume shooter. So that would suggest that he possibly would he not have the right impact at Villa, or would he? I'm just thinking off the top of my head, really. I mean, he would, wouldn't he? But like,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah,
what we're looking at here, like volume shooting, he's not really getting as many offers what we'd need.
yeah. So he's been on the radar of some big clubs, hasn't he? Barca, Real Madrid, we were talking about. But yeah, his main thing is the dribbling, pace and dribbling. So you look at his dribbling numbers really high. Creating is up there as well. But yeah, maybe a bit of that end product, taking more shots. But yeah, no, he's a cracking player.
Yeah, he's quality. Right. So there's one player that I'm going to mention him because I know his name's probably going to get linked with Villa that I don't actually think he'd be that great for Villa. And I don't know whether I'll rate him or not. I'll get your thoughts. Sancho. Do you rate Sancho or not?
He's okay. I don't rate him as highly as the finances would be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's I don't think he'd be the fit for Villa personally. Like you say, I'd be more interested in someone with a bit more pace. I don't think he's got that that burst of pace. He's a bit more of a, I don't know, like a technical player maybe. But yeah, like I say, the wages and the finances involved don't match the skill level for me. With
Oh, can you just get back on there, Bailey, just so we can have a quick little look at Bailey's numbers as well. And we're gonna do what we did last time then. So we're gonna go through briefly in a second, and we're just gonna go through like what Villa fans want from a winger. It was quite interesting last time to see what the actual fans want to see. So I think that's going to be interesting as well. But we'll just have a quick little look at Bailey's numbers here then. So, and what's Bailey good at? And I think one thing that does stand out for me with Bailey is his dribbling. I think he's very high on his dribbling, very high at going forward, ball retainer, pretty okay, but I'd say pretty standard. Those are the big things with him. I think his close control massively improved at Villa. He's sort of got that little roll, that little step over, that little drag back that keeps him with the ball. But again, look at what we're seeing here. Goal scorer 1.3, volume shooter 4.9. So, those stats are pretty telling, really. So, do you just feel like it is the right time anyway, whether one bad season? Would you say it's just the right time to move Bailey on anyway?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is a market for him. Like you can see on the screen, right? The numbers actually aren't that bad. So I think he's a player that we could sell and could get money for, like we're seeing in the rumors. Yeah, the big one is the goals, isn't it? It just hasn't been enough for what we need on that right wing, compared to what we know he can do and what he's done in the past. Yeah, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or what, but yeah, it just seems like it's the right time to part ways, I think.
I think the other thing with wingers is they are often inconsistent, which is probably the worst part of having a winger, is that 1 week, and we've seen it across our whole lives of watching football, 1 week one can be brilliant, the next week they're not very good, and it's just that, I can see what you can do and then you just don't deliver, and they are sort of like a very frustrating type of player, wingers anyway. So we're going to have a quick little look then at what Villa fans want. I'll try and plow through as many as I can quickly. So KC has put pace, good dribbling, great finishing, and someone who can dictate the flow of a game. I think that's a good one. Just take the game upon themselves. Tech no liberators. But honestly, I think we all just want Bailey from 23, 24. But again, like if we get that version of Bailey or a player like that, then that would be good. Justin France has put pace, the ability to beat his man and put in an accurate cross. Sutton Boy has put looking forward to it. Goals, assists, shots on goal, progressive passes, successful dribbler, take-ons, and lastly but not least, tackles, interceptions in his own half. Difficult to compare, but who would be your benchmark? Well, I think we've gone through a lot of names there anyway for you. So I'm going to butcher a lot of these names because some of them are quite wild. Morton Panduro has put natural left footer, pace, creativity, and dribbling. Stuart's put he can't wait for the episode. Robert has put pace, assists, goals, consistency. Again, sort of touching on my final point there, consistency. We've got Kyle Flint has put, I'd like to see somebody who is confident out wide as they are coming in central, someone who can spread the play and beat a man, similar to what we saw with Rashford. Great points there. I think the good thing that we had with Diaby was that they used to like cross over and just that little combination I thought was really good. Have a look at some more. Mr. Green has put pacey, direct, and he's a beast in 1v1s. Rich has put attacking with pace, being able to whip in decent crosses, good defensive attributes, and trap back. Do you know what? I think this, we've got Erin McLean has put pace, assists, goals, willing to trap back at times, and can help whipping a good ball. Probably someone like Madwake or Alanga. And then finally, Lynn has put a right winger with a right foot. None of this cutting inside on their other foot. That's interesting. What do you make of that, Earl? We do kind of get that.
I think for the most part, we're all on the same page, aren't we? I mean, I don't mind cutting in, but I think we need a player that can do both, to be honest, and not be so predictable. You know, you have certain players, they're just going to cut in every time. But yeah, you need players who also have that ability to get to the byline and put a cross in. So I wouldn't say one or the other. I'd say I want both greedily.
Yeah, we want it all, unfortunately. Right,
Yeah.
so that episode was really interesting, insightful to see the different profiles, the different names, the numbers behind the players in the Premier League, in Europe, and across the top 5 leagues as well. So hopefully this episode goes down as well as the right back. Next, should we do what position should we do next, Earl? Should we do striker? I think striker's a good one.
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
Right, we'll do striker. So let's try and get as many likes on this one as possible as well. And then we'll do the striker. So it could be a first choice striker or it could be a number 2. So we'll look at it in 2 ways, sort of like main guy or someone that can come in and help out, young maybe, or someone who is established, and we'll go from there with that one. So it'll be interesting to see the names on that one. So yeah, like I say, if you have enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and most importantly, comment your thoughts. Up the Villa.